Our sun is dying, its fusion reactions are slowing down, and the bright yellow star we rely on is fading into a dull, ominous red. Back on Earth, that means rapid global cooling. The planet is freezing over, and humanity is staring down the barrel of an ice age extinction to reignite the star. But space is entirely unforgiving. Throw in a few technical failures and the crushing psychological weight of deep space isolation, and a perfectly planned mission quickly derails into chaos. If that setup sounds familiar, it's because it serves as the exact starting line for two major science fiction properties, Andy Weir's Project Hail Mary and Danny Boyle's 2007 film Sunshine. Yet, despite launching from the exact same premise, the cinematic and emotional destinations these two stories arrive at are wildly, sharply opposed. Take the lead characters. In Sunshine, we follow Robert Capa, a hyper-focused, heavily burdened physicist played by Cillian Murphy. Compare that to Project Hail Mary, which relies on Ryan Gosling's casting as Ryland Grace, an upbeat middle school science teacher who wakes up with amnesia. If you have a few hours to invest in a deep space epic, you need to know exactly what kind of ride you're strapping into, rather than getting blindsided halfway through. This comparison matrix breaks down the divergence. We'll score these stories across three criteria: the threat, the crew dynamic, and the overall tone. Stripping away the shared plot to look at these mechanical variables reveals what genre each story actually belongs to. By understanding these exact trade-offs, you can pick the specific emotional return you want for your time. Let's start with how they handle the science. Sunshine was initially marketed heavily on its rigorous, grounded physics. The filmmakers brought in physicist Brian Cox to consult, developing a theoretical cue ball of supersymmetric particles, slowly eating away at the solar core. They gave the mission physical scale. The bomb meant to reignite the sun required a mass equivalent to the entire island of Manhattan. But deep into the third act, Sunshine abandons its physics textbook, taking a hard left turn into metaphysical slasher movie horror. This timeline shows the story's trajectory. It tracks smoothly along logical sci-fi before snapping into a jagged path of supernatural terror. Down below, we add Project Hail Mary. It stays locked on a straight vector of scientific problem-solving from start to finish. The trade-off here is straightforward. Andy Weir's narrative sacrifices the visceral dread of deep space to prioritize consistent, methodical math and engineering. You have to choose what you value more in your fiction: the satisfaction of airtight scientific logic or the thrill of unpredictable narrative risk. The next variable is how each story approaches the psychological weight of deep space isolation. Sunshine traps an octet of astronauts, featuring a pre-Captain America Chris Evans, inside tight, claustrophobic quarters for 16 grueling months. That proximity creates severe interpersonal friction. The crew bickers, debating who to jettison to preserve oxygen, and the emotional stress undermines their mission. Project Hail Mary approaches isolation completely differently. Ryland Grace is essentially alone until he teams up with a highly competent, music-speaking alien named Rocky. Their dynamic replaces paranoia with humor, logic-driven cooperation, and an endearing feel-good camaraderie. This bromance lowers the stakes of human unpredictability. Instead of a psychological pressure cooker where anyone could snap, the mission becomes a cooperative puzzle adventure. The size of the crew dictates your experience. You will either feel exhausted by the bitter conflict or uplifted by the cross-species teamwork. Finally, we have to look at the visual and atmospheric direction, starting with Sunshine director Danny Boyle. Boyle explicitly channeled Ridley Scott's Alien, using creeping camera movements down dimly lit corridors to create a palpable sense of danger. This visualization of the sun's violent, textured surface treats the star as an overbearing presence, an adversarial force that slowly erodes the crew's mental stability. This yields a heavy, dour viewing experience that requires a high tolerance for dread, a sharp contrast to the bright, optimistic tone driving Project Hail Mary. Tone serves as your final filter. You have to ask yourself if you are sitting down to experience crippling tension or absolute triumph. With those three variables mapped out, we can firmly categorize which property matches your specific viewing habits. This quadrant chart plots the options. On the vertical axis, we range from low stress and comedy up to high stress and horror. On the horizontal axis, we go from ensemble drama over to solo competence. Sunshine lands squarely in the top left. It is built for viewers craving high-stakes tension and who welcome a violent third-act twist. Project Hail Mary secures the bottom right. It is perfectly engineered for audiences who want a story where the scientific method itself is the hero. If you are an atmospheric thrill seeker who loves psychological weight and spectacular cinematography, you should embrace Sunshine, despite its flaws. But if you are a competence porn optimist who wants to watch smart people solve impossible problems without killing each other, Project Hail Mary is your definitive choice. Pause for effect. Both of these missions will ultimately fix the sun, but only one of them is guaranteed to fix your specific mood.